Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the GGB Supplier Showcase. As always, I'm your host, Jess Marquez, and also, as always, I'm pleased to be joined by a familiar face. Viewers of this space know him well. He needs no introduction. David Bretnitz, Senior Vice President of Sales for Kambi Group. David, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Struggling a little bit after my Bengals loss yesterday, which was quite embarrassing. But hey, it's the start of another good week, and we're excited to be here with you again.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And, it really is a shame, David, in the sense that I have to go back and look. I don't remember when the first one that we did of these was, but, it's hard. Our teams have gone in different trajectories since we've known each other. If I had been talking to you in, say, 2021, our dynamic would have been flipped, right? You would have been the Super Bowl going team, and we would have been the lowly.
I think that was one of our first conversations. We haven't had many positive updates since then when it comes to the Bengals side.
Well, I guess if nothing else, it just serves as a reminder that these things are cyclical, and if you stick it out long, if we stick it out long enough, if we just keep battling these out, sooner or later. You will return to the upper hand eventually. And like I said, as an Eagles fan, a lifelong Eagles fan, I am not going to act as if the last 5 years are the standard for which the rest of my life was built on. So I know how fragile these things are. But anyway, as always, as we like to do, we like to talk about work. Kambi Group always love to hear about what you guys got going on. We are talking now in late October. It is about 3 weeks removed from the annual circus that is G2E. What is your guys' kind of recount of the show as you sit back and take things away from it? What was your kind of big takeaways from G2E 2025, the 25th anniversary? I might.
Yeah, it was a great conference for us. It was our first year not having a large exhibit like we typically do. We had a meeting room, which I think allowed us to engage a little bit more with our partners and prospects. That allowed us to kind of have more of those intimate conversations with them. But I think some highlights for us: a lot of interest in the Kambi's odds feed product, as well as in our modularization of the Kambi Sportsbook. And so I think, as we've talked in the past, it's really kind of opened up the addressable market for us. So where there's obviously a need for the Kambi turnkey side of the business, which is what our success has been built on thus far, there's also that market out there where operators have their existing technology or they want to supplement their offering. So they're able to utilize us for our experience and kind of our global scale there. So there's a lot of conversations around that side of it. I think a big thing for us too, with just gaining our recent licensure in the Nevada market, having those conversations with operators there, really engaging with them and learning about what they're looking for, how we can support, and then also ones that we're moving forward with, in the space there, being able to dig deeper with them and really get on their level. And I think finally, when you look at the tribal side, you have key states that are, obviously trying to push some legislation, whether or not it happens in the near future or not. I think even more importantly, though, with the tribes, is their willingness and their openness to engage on the online side of sports betting, where that's always kind of been shied away from a little bit in the past, and has really been a focus on the brick and mortar side of the business. We've really had a lot more conversations and engagement and interest, when it comes to the online piece. And so I think that's beneficial for us going forward, and we look forward to obviously expanding our relationships there in the tribal space, and both existing ones and in new states to come.
Definitely. And I have, if it's all right, I have two really quick follow-ups based on that. So the first one being, obviously, as a Nevada kid, I'm eternally curious. I know we talked last time briefly about your guys' Nevada strategy and licensure. It's not a very far time removed from that, but kind of, is there anything that you guys can share, or kind of what was your meetings around Nevada? Kind of, obviously the show takes place in Nevada. So is there any other information or details that you can talk about there?
Yeah, as far as actual partnerships besides the ones that we have outside of Nevada that operate there and supporting them, we'll have some updates hopefully to share here in the not too distant future. But I think the biggest thing there is just, Nevada operators are different. Their DNA is in the bookmaking side of it. They want to have control on a lot of those things. And so being able to really personalize, the sportsbook offering for those operators as well as their players alike, I think is really important. Being able to provide that flexibility on the front end that is based off of what their players want. The product offering itself, Nevada players as well as operators have a way of doing things, and making sure that we are able to craft our offering and our service and support to be able to, support them in their initiatives and their goals has been one, I think, a unique kind of learning experience for us. But more importantly, it's allowed us to really differentiate the product offering as well as the service that we provide. And I think it goes to show that, while we can support many different operators, we can also individualize for each one of those operators at the same time.
Sure. Well, and admittedly, that was a little bit selfish on my part. Obviously, being curious about all things Nevada. One other quick one that I had for you. Obviously, you've been going to these shows and you've been around this business for a long time. What was the tenor of the conversations that you guys had? Like, how were the conversations that you guys had? How were they different from years past in terms of, obviously, you had prediction markets, you had sweepstakes, you had all these like really kind of controversial things on the fringes this year, and it's been the last 2 years that those topics have been kind of top of mind. Has that changed the the conversations that you guys have been having in terms of like, are you getting asked a lot more questions about stuff like that? Are you kind of like, how have those topics kind of changed these shows for you guys?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously because of Kambi's success in the sports betting space,
sure,
everybody wants our opinion. Good or bad. I think they want to know, one, what's Kambi's thoughts on prediction markets and other types of verticals that are emerging that might not be 100% regulated, or, some that are kind of infringing on, the regulated side of the business. So I think it's unique in that sense that they want our opinion. I think it's also flattering too that they respect us enough to want our opinion as well. And so, yes, there is a lot more conversation about the what ifs and how do we combat that. And I think one of the greatest things you can do is to have an engaging product offering that's, compelling and competitive, and, gives, operators what they need to be able to compete and, be successful. I think it also too, from the tribal side of it, I think they also have those questions too, so they can understand, like, hey, do we really need to start pushing this forward a little bit more to try to combat some of those other things that are coming along? Because I think a lot of those, different verticals are coming forward because of the lack of legislation and the lack of regulation in some of those markets. And so we'll see if that expedites anything on that side of it, but obviously everyone's curious to see kind of where that goes and kind of, how Kambi fits into that equation, when it comes to prediction markets and other types of things.
And sure, and to be clear, that wasn't. I apologize. It wasn't meant to be kind of a what's Kambi's thoughts on this. It wasn't. It was more along the lines of, I think you guys are uniquely positioned in those type of conversations to say, hey, we have all these different solutions, and the kind of compartmentalization and modularization of that, I think, is a benefit to you guys in those conversations in terms of your adaptability. So again, didn't want to come across as if I was like trying to elicit something right there. It was more so a compliment, I guess, of your guys.
Very, very valid question, and I think if we didn't speak to it, I think we would be naive when it comes to that, because it's a very relevant topic for every type of operator and supplier and regulatory body alike.
For sure. And so we started, obviously, the conversation here in the U.S. I want to spend the rest of the conversation kind of going around the globe a little bit. So we've got some different kind of compartments, different regions to discuss. Let's start with, as I understand, mostly in Europe. I know that's been a busy few weeks rather for you guys in terms of partnership announcements. Kind of talk about some of those if you can, and kind of more so just like that region for you guys as a whole.
Yeah, so I think it's a testament to every market's always emerging, adapting, and you're right. We've had a busy couple of months there across the European side of it. With the new signings of Bretnitz, of the Bretnitz Group, experienced operators. Then you have newer operators coming into the sportsbook space too, like Holland Gaming, and I think it's a testament to the consultative approach that Kambi takes with our operators, whether they're experienced, inexperienced, whether they've been doing this for many years or just a few years. It goes to show that we can craft our service and our product for anyone and everyone, allowing them to exceed in their space. I think it also goes to show too, they're attracted to, Kambi's global scale, our experience, our robust trading engine and betting engine, risk management and everything else that kind of comes along with having that competitive and compelling offering. So I think it's flattering to us to be able to have those types of operators that may have been operating with other suppliers for many years come to Kambi and be attracted to Kambi because of those things. And I think we'll see that elsewhere too, even beyond Europe in the future, where operators are looking to migrate away from their current technology stacks that they've been operating on for several years, for the prospect of having something better positioned for them when it comes to Kambi.
Do you guys find that in terms of your diversification of markets, like does it help in those conversations where you say like we are in X countries, obviously that's our track record for this new country, or like does the track record of operations in various countries kind of aid in launching new markets in the sense of like word of mouth, references that, hey, I work with this company in this country, now we could partner in this country, kind of how does that work in terms of the global expansion of things?
I mean, word of mouth business, I think we all know is the best referral you can possibly get. But I think the bigger thing on that side of it is the betting behavior is different everywhere you go,
sure.
Right? And I think the more experience you can have in a varying type of markets, I think really allows us to excel. We have 6 million players across the Kambi database with all of our partners that we power, and I think that data is really valuable. One, everybody talks about AI, but AI is only as good as the data that you can plug into it. But when we can plug in rich data, the output that we get from that when it comes to trading, to risk and everything else on down the line is really important. And that's a benefit to obviously the Kambi network, but then also prospects in the future. And so to answer your question there, yes, I think operating in all those different markets and having that word of mouth and being able to say we've powered successful operations in Colombia, in Brazil, in Canada, in Ontario, all across the U.S., all across Europe, is really a huge thing. And I think that's not to be understated. And it does benefit us when we go into these meetings and meet with prospects, whether they're experienced operators or ones that are just getting into the space. I think when you can speak from experience and not just tell a good story, I think it carries a lot more weight. And I think that's something we've really been able to reap the benefits from.
Definitely. And you mentioned obviously Canada just now. That's where I was wanting to go next. And to be clear, for anyone who might be listening to this, Canada is our friends. We love our friends up north. We would like them to travel. We would like them to travel back here and to come to our casinos and contribute to our economy. That's on record. So in terms of sports betting, Canada's regulated market obviously has been a big story the last few years. It's a huge opportunity that is still growing. I mean, there's still provinces left, to grow. The ones that are online now are doing very well. So kind of where does Kambi positioned right now in Canada, and kind of what's your guys' strategy for our friends up north?
Yeah, so we've had good success so far with our operators in Ontario. Alberta is obviously looking to regulate and kind of move things forward. Whether that happens in early 26, later in Q1 of 26, Q2 of 26, it'll be interesting to see kind of where that shakes out. But obviously, as we just talked about, being at the forefront of the sports betting industry, having those active conversations with operators, early on and forging and forming those partnerships with them is something that we like to take that proactive approach to. And so we feel Alberta, while it'll be very similar to probably the Ontario market, betting behavior will probably be similar, but as we just mentioned before, having the experience with 6 million players and having a competitive offering and the best bet builder in the market and same game parlay and the combinability that comes with those different things creates that exciting and engaging experience for players. I think that's going to bode well for us when it comes to Alberta and any other province across Canada too. So we're excited for Canada. We have some good irons in the fire that are quite warm right now, and I think in the near future we'll really see some further expansion there.
Sure, and that's obviously another market that we will have our eyes heavily trained on in the near future. This has been great, as always. I'll get you out of here on this one. You know, obviously we've talked a lot about the U.S., talked about Europe, Canada. Where else around the world are you guys currently kind of eyeing? What other big, you know, regulated opportunities do you see out there for sports betting growth?
Yeah, I think we'll see different countries like the Dominican Republic probably come into the more regulated fold. We're already seeing Mexico, even though you can kind of lump that into the North American side of the business. The betting behavior is very much different, I believe, from the North America side of things in relation to the U.S. and Canada. You're seeing more regulation down there, albeit a very high tax rate is what they're proposing. I think you'll also see more growth when it comes to Brazil as operators start to kind of figure things out, and as the regulatory body there starts to figure things out a little bit more. So I think you'll see more growth there. But any new market for Kambi is an exciting one, especially all the ones in the regulated side of the space. That bodes well for us since that's the only type of business we really focus on. But I even think beyond that, we talked about the U.S., but I think the tribal space really too, I think is going to be a big expansion for us when it comes to Oklahoma, it comes to California, and I think that's almost kind of on their own at that point when you look at those types of ones. So yeah, I think South America is going to be a big one for us in addition to the tribal space in the U.S.
Well, there's certainly never any shortage of action, any shortage of work out there to be done. David, thanks as always. I don't know how many times that we've done this by now, but it is always fun, and I always love talking to the Kambi folks. How can, if anybody's interested, how can they get in contact with you guys over there?
Yeah, easiest way, Kambi.com. Go there, fill out a contact us sheet. That'll come directly to us and go to our sales team, depending on where you are, whether it's across the Latin America side of the business, the North America side, or the European side of the business. You'll be able to get in touch with one of us that'll be able to assist you and kind of, as we mentioned, take that consultative approach and guide you through the process. We're obviously very present across LinkedIn as well, so look forward to engaging with anyone that might have interest in Kambi or just chatting about sports betting in general.
Just don't ask about the Bengals, unfortunately.
That's a sore subject for me right now.
Anything else besides that? David, thank you again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate the opportunity as always.
All right.